Today we are covering a video by Incognito Islamic Productions, and I already have so many things to say based on the channel name alone. If you are Incognito, you're doing a pretty piss poor job of it. And since you're clearly someone who wants their ideas to spread, why the hell would you want to be sneaky about it anyway? I know, you probably picked the name because of the alliteration. But seriously, you need to pick words that make sense, because they have meanings, damn it.
What are the questions that no atheist will be able to answer?
Oh, Sneaky Beaky Productions, I think there's only one question we can't answer. Why the f*** do religious apologists insist on constantly coming up with questions atheists can't do answers at, and then catastrophically fail immediately? Usually by asking questions that are always perfectly answerable and or nothing to do with atheism? Do they not have the ability to do pattern recognition? Or are they so confident in their big brains that they are going to be the ones who don't make a fool out of themselves? Maybe they just have a humiliation kink and this is the only way that they can come. It really is impossible to know at this point.
A. How did existence emerge out of no space and no time?
What did I just say? Anyway, whatever. How did existence emerge? I don't know. But there's lots of hypotheses in that regard, and there's a chance it's one of those. Or something no one's thought of yet. And yes, Mr. Narrator, while we don't know for sure yet, it could even be some kind of supernatural Superman. But just because I don't know doesn't mean that any answer you come up with is more right.
How can an atheist assume that his atheism is valid when the moment of the start of existence is a stark proof on the creativity of the Creator?
Well, if that's the only reason you have for me not being able to hold that position, I gotta say, it's not. The universe doesn't show anyone's creativity. It just shows stuff that's there. Unless you can bring me a photo of God at his monthly life drawing class, I am under no obligation to believe that there was any creativity involved in the formation of the universe, because I don't think it needed it.
And his ability to originate existence.
It's like telling me that I can't possibly assume that my lack of belief in Treeismo, the god of trees who makes trees grow with his mind powers, is valid because trees exist and grow. Motherfucker, I'll assume it's valid until you prove his existence. Till then, I'm feeling pretty valid up in here, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
B. How did no life transform into life?
Well, you see, I started off as a sad, pathetic loser who barely got out of the house and spent increasing amounts of time on my own just browsing the internet looking for strangers to argue with. But then I became a YouTuber, and now I have a rich life of spending all my time indoors in my own company and having spirited discussions with others online. It's made a world of difference.
How did matter mutate from lifelessness into living cell?
Into living cell. And mutate, that's not how that works, mate. Life would likely have formed starting with the building blocks coming together for various reasons and moved on from there. You know, it's almost like you don't know anything about science, do you?
With all our techniques and advancements, we cannot, till this very moment, originate the simplest form of life.
They have literally been doing experiments for fucking ages that make amino acids or what have you. You know, the things that life is generally made from, form. And even if it couldn't be done up to this point, to assume that means it could never be done is basically ignoring the last literally forever, where whenever the humans didn't know how to do something but wanted to, they would go figure it out and eventually, do that. So to assume that is just gonna stop because you decided so? It's patently absurd at best.
So how can we explain the origination of life in the dead matter?
You make it sound like life is a quality unto itself that comes from beyond the constituent parts. This is like the concept of the spark of life as oft touted by various religions, who couldn't explain why living things lived, why dead things were dead, and how something could pass from one to the other. But such a concept is now clearly unnecessary, as we understand that it's all just brain chemistry and electrical impulses, etc. And again, even if we didn't have a pretty good idea of at least the basics of why life functions, it still wouldn't mean that God did it though. It would mean we don't know, and that's it.
Wouldn't we have been at least able to originate a form of life that supersedes the one that originated in the dead matter by at least 1,000,000 times?
What the f*** was that fever dream of a supposed sentence? You know, this narrator is clearly well-spoken and seems capable of eloquence, but that sentence was just what? It makes me think that for this guy, this is just a paycheck and nothing else. And fair play, I wouldn't correct the mistakes of this shit either. Give Spy Kids Co. what they paid for and not a penny more.
C. How can the atheist argue against the annihilation of all mankind?
Woo, that's ace. Okay, I guess they can't. You are right, we should kill all the humans and just get it over and done with. It's like ripping off a band-aid. You just do it quickly and it's not so bad, really. I mean, what's one extinction among friends, eh? Christ. With a line like that, you would think this video was made specifically for me. Maybe there is a God, and that bitch is hilarious.
What is the rational, substantial, and scientific evidence an atheist can present to prove that annihilation of all mankind is a mistake?
Stop, you're killing me with all these uncontrollable erections. But seriously, what the kind of question is that? It's so utterly devoid of any coherent point. There's no cosmic reason for humans to continue to exist, therefore God. No. Like, even life in general isn't something that is inherently necessary for the universe, as far as we can tell. It's interesting, and certainly aside from the humans, are nice to have, but none of them alive guys appear to have intrinsic value beyond their and our own senses of self-preservation. Ultimately, we don't need to make an argument for the continuation of our own lives, because that has literally nothing to do with the existence of a God. I mean, a God could very well not want life to happen. If he did, you would think they would have made a universe a little bit more friendly to it instead of literally deadly for 99.9999999 etc% of it. Strange he wouldn't do that.
The material world knows no right and wrong, so annihilation of mankind must be equal to keeping them alive from their perspective.
No, from their perspective, they have things like the drive to procreate and evolutionary forcing that makes being the best at it rewarding. The perspective where keeping humans alive or killing them off equals the exact same thing would be that of something beyond mankind. Something so big and powerful that humans don't even register to them. Because why would they? It's funny because the argument you're making speaks more of the illogical nature of a God who would care about humans at all, more than anything else. It's a cunning plan. A plan so cunning you could pin a tail to it and call it a fucking stupid plan with a tail.
D. Atheism assumes that human beings are just animals.
Atheism assumes no such thing. Atheism is a very specific claim about the existence of or not of a specific thing. Apart from the fact that humans are animals, itam classification, you fucking dipshit, there are plenty of religions and religious folks who are perfectly happy to accept that fact. God or no, humans are animals. Because humans came up with the term and decided that it meant all of these things, you fucking galaxy melt.
Who came into existence after a long and slow sequence of evolution from meaner beings.
Meaner beings? What the fuck does that mean? Were man's ancestors not very nice? Again? What? Evolution is the process where people become nice and friendly, according to this guy. I don't even know what's going on anymore.
So what if a higher being came into existence? Will it have the right to put us all in cages and use us as lab rats?
Right. Define a right in that context. And if they had the strength and will to do that, who's going to stop them? God? I mean, that would be a fucking first, waiting until the enslavement of all of mankind before bothering to show up and help. But, be fair, that's got to be pretty embarrassing when all umpteen billion of your kids end up in universe jail at the same time. Damn.
The Darwinist answer that we derive from matter is yes.
Oh my God, evolution would not answer that question. It only attempts, and succeeds, in answering how the diversity of life on Earth came to be, FFS. Why do you lot keep making up ideas that have nothing to do with the principle being discussed? I'm starting to think that they have no idea what words mean or how the everything works.
So, what's the purpose from protecting mankind or providing them with meaning or purpose when it comes to atheism?
Aside from the fact that, again, that was an amazingly bad sentence, there isn't one. There doesn't need to be, because atheism isn't in the business of providing people with meaning. That's not what it's for, and not what it's trying to do. There are atheistic philosophies that attempt to do that, but they, actually try to do that. So from all directions, this claim makes no sense. Perhaps stop.
Atheism here is unable to explain the reality of man.
Correct. Now explain how that in any way, shape or form makes atheism wrong. I would say I will wait, but I got shit to do, and you ain't never cracking that nut. 'Cause you're wrong about basically everything thus far in any meaningful way.
E. What if, according to evolution, we proved that one race is higher than the other?
You wouldn't do that. You couldn't do that. That wouldn't make any sense. You have no fucking idea what evolution is or what it means, do you? There is no higher or lower in evolution, only fit. Survivability is the only metric that matters as to whether or not something passes down its genes, and not one jot about how it's better. And certainly not best, because in evolution, there is no such thing as the best animal or best person, only the most likely to survive. You dumb fuck. Seriously, if this is just a gig for you, my dude, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself for repeating this utter nonsensical gibberish. It is embarrassing.
Will the higher race be entitled to transform the lesser race into used matter?
Gibberish. Utter gibberish. Evolution has basically nothing to do with race, and nothing to do with something's value in some kind of moral framework. That's just dumb. But hey, let's answer the concept of, would a higher being be entitled to mush down something it sees as less than itself? If that's what they want to do and no one's gonna stop them, then I guess they is. How the else is that supposed to work exactly? But again, nothing to do with evolution, or atheism for that matter, you fucking dent.
As we do with the lesser insects or animals? Again, the Darwinist answer is yes.
No, but do go on. If there's any value to be gleaned from this debacle, it's getting a view into just how staggeringly ignorant one man can sound, whilst confidently proclaiming some of the most asinine bullshit ever uttered, and to watch this train wreck as it ploughs through the walls of the train station and into 20 streets worth of residential housing.
This very argument is enough to obliterate atheism from any mind that utilizes common sense.
No, it really doesn't. Good try, though. If by good we mean your likely definition, which would be like being eaten alive by snakes or something. Fuck's sake.
Since the only criteria to judge who is better than who is the criterion of God-fearingness, not by color or strength.
That's an absolutely shit metric. You're saying that someone could be literally the worst kind of mass-murdering, sexual-assaulting, bank-robbing arsonist, but because they are also God-fearing, they have greater value than a food kitchen-working, charity-donating, kidney transplant to a dying, childing non-believer. Yeah, no, that's f***ed up and stupid as shit. If your God's real, and that's how he judges things, f*** him.
F.
That does sum up this entire video, not gonna lie.
Atheists argue that morals are relative, meaning can be seen from more than one perspective.
I'm not even gonna say it, but yeah, from many atheists' perspective, they are. And let me guess, you don't like that because you think you are special and have a pretend best friend, because, no one real will hang out with you. And he said that only the things you think are moral are so, and that he will always back you up on your shitty opinions and behaviour. Sound about right?
So, honesty can be better than betrayal, or betrayal can be better in some cases.
Betraying the Nazi commander is objectively better than telling him where he could find some escapees in hiding. Are you actually this fucking stupid? Absolutely basic bitch-ass moral concept, and you immediately fail at it. What a freaking shock. I don't think anyone was expecting that, apart from everyone.
Yet, when confronted with their own trials, they claim outright that morality is objective and that things like honesty or betrayal are absolute.
No, they don't. It's subjective, based on the person's principles, you dumbass. And most people base it on what does the most harm. A fairly simple metric that sums up most people's moral choices, apart from those who get their morality from ancient books, because then all bets are off and they can justify basically everything as morally justified. I'm sorry, who are the immoral ones again?
Because if morals are relative, then immorality makes no sense, since we will never be able to set a line between morality and immorality.
There is no line. That shit changes all the time, as it f***ing well should. The things we find perfectly acceptable today, sometime down the line, we will probably discover they were more harmful than we thought, and the line moves. It will probably move forever, and thank non-existo for that, because otherwise we would still be enslaving people and all sorts of other fucked up shit everywhere all the time.
This is definitely a clear contradiction, because if morality was objective and absolute, then this law of morality must have had a lawgiver.
Wait a second, let me just...
This is definitely a clear contradiction.
There we go, thank you. Fuck, do I even need to respond with anything else at this point, really?
The will of Allah and divine accountability. If morality was relative, then no atheist must complain from immorality or even comprehend its concept. This is definitely a clear contradiction.
Sorry, lol. Couldn't help it. But seriously, the atheists do that, and they see no contradiction. So maybe, just maybe, you're missing something and do not understand what they believe. And instead of making videos saying, haha, you're dumb, you might actually, I don't know, ask someone what they do believe. No, you're right, making shit up about what other people think is far easier than bothering to learn anything. Fuck that.
G.
You know what? I'm done. These have all been fucking idiotic, and I really doubt that's going to change anytime soon. Maybe a follow-up will happen, but not today. Today I choose life.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was gonna tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the